Welcome to another Tigox podcast with MacGregor-Bromfield. So today we're going to be going through the poem that I wrote called Voicemail from Grandma. Now, I have to give a little background to my mother and background to me, as I guess, to make this clear. So, first of all, my mother's Dominican, my father's Jamaican, and I was born in England. So accents is something that I'm used to as I'm growing up. I'm hearing different ways that persons are pronouncing different things. Now, there were times when it was quite comical, although my mother was not laughing. If we start laughing, and when I say we, I have two other sisters. One of the things that happened a lot is that when my mother got angry with us, so she would first start off with the widening of the eyes. So that was one of the things that would clue us in, especially if there's company that we're doing something that she's not approving. So when she widened her eye, we kind of have to fall in place. But when she has to speak, she's going to have a very strong Dominican accent. And the more angry she is, the stronger the accent is. So when she really got mad with us, the more the accent would come up, the more we found it comical, because it's not something that you hear every day. I mean, she had a very strong accent in general, yes, but it's still not something that you would hear every day. So I remember one time I came home and I heard her on the phone. And she's getting angry with the person who is listening to her on the phone and not getting what you're saying. And so she's trying to make herself clear. And I hear my mother say, Brown, brung. Are you not hearing me? I said, brung. The poor person over there was wondering if that's a new spelling of a different word. Another time, I came home and she was babysitting my son, and she was trying to get my son to go to the bathroom before I came home so that he would be all nice and fresh and clean after playing, to go up to my section of the house. And she is trying her best to get, and he's looking as if to say, what are you saying? And then she's saying, I hear her, I said, bath, not bath. I said, bath. It's bath, bath, that she's trying to say. And he is repeating her and getting her upset because she is hearing one thing and not hearing herself. So sometimes that was very, very comical to hear her go through those experience, getting angry and getting stronger in the accent and not realizing that the people around her find it quite comical. Anyway, this particular poem, I just woke up, and this is, no, I said, you notice I said grandma. So this is my sons speaking to my mother. And it just popped in my head with the accent. Now, I don't know if I can do the accent well now. When I used to hear it every day, may her soul rest in peace, she has passed. When I heard it every day, every time I read this poem, I could say it no other way than in an accent, with an accent. Now, if you ask what accent and you ever let her hear you say small island accent, oh, no, no, no. You know, Dominica is smaller than Jamaica, but she does not want to hear anything about any small island accent. She's not accepting that. So that was another thing we have to be very careful not to say that. Because we grew up with her, my two sisters and myself speak a little bit different to most people that are around us. And some persons will say, where are you from? And they'll be guessing. When they ask me where I'm from and I say, guess, they'll be starting to go through all the islands before they reach where I'm actually from, which is England. Because that is my accent, my British accent, that's long gone. Uh, and it was forced out of me when I came to Jamaica. When my sister and myself, the two older ones, and the younger one was here long after. But let's speak about the one that was just after me and myself. Both of us came with very strong British accents to Jamaica, and the schools that we went to, two different schools. My sister went, I'm not going to say which school I went to, but my sister went to Stella Maris. When she spoke, it's as if the queen herself came down on some flight and was speaking to them. And they would just look at her like she was the queen. And they would say that again. And she would repeat with the British accent. So she's kept that British accent because it was so revered at her school. When I spoke, I'm not going to say which school, oh my goodness, quite the reverse. They said, "What is it?" And then, and very strong patois at that school. What is it? And then say that again. And then big laughing and mimicking me. And oh, it was really rough on me. So for even almost a year, I didn't speak. I was just listening to the Jamaican accent, listening to those that were at the school and trying to speak like them so I could fit in because I hated the ridicule. So I found that as an adult, though, whoever I speak to, I'm able to quickly speak like them. I went to Mexico for 2 weeks. I come back rolling R's like I was born in Mexico. Not on purpose, but it just happened. Because so accents is something, as I said, I grew up with, we grew up with. And so it's easy to go in and out of accents and understand persons who are speaking with different accents. That's something that has carried through with us because we're hearing all of these out of many one people accents at their home. So so I'm going to read the poem, but I also want to mention something else that kind of fused into the poem. And that was my mother's challenge for technology. She didn't like to touch anything that was electrical, anything that had electricity through it. I mean, maybe the iron might have been the biggest thing that had electricity that she would be able to touch, but she wasn't happy about that either. She was always afraid of something going wrong, electrocution or explosion or whatever. So I remember one time when we had a VCR, and it was pretty new, yeah. It was a new concept to have a VCR, put it in, you see you have the remote and you see the movie. And I said to mom, you can watch some movies while you're at home, relaxing and stuff. And she's looking at me as to say, oh, yeah, really? And I'm saying, Mommy, it's so easy. So I put in the movie and I set up the remote and everything, turn and everything. I said, when you're ready, just press play. So I showed her where play is on the remote. And I go into in one of my rooms. Next thing I hear my mother calling out. This is maybe sometime after, maybe half an hour after. I hear my mother call out. She don't call me. She call out my other sister's name, but she say, come and press play here for me. She didn't want to press play, press something else by accident. So with that experience, coupled with the accents, I wrote this poem. Voicemail from Grandma. Hello, my dear. This is the third time I called today. This voicemail thing has me so confused. When should I speak? What dismay. Oh dear, I just realized you should be at work at this time. It would have helped if your voicemail has said as much. When I was on the line, you said you programmed your work number into my phone. Am I supposed to know what that means? And which one of these phones that is? The cell one, it seems. Then you expect me to hold this tiny thing to my ears when I speak? For what matter? With this failing eyesight, the digits are far too sleek. When the digi rings, my luck is that I'm answering the line. I'm darting all over the place. When I realize what's happening, I run out of time. Discrediting is another nightmare. I just pray it into being. Only when my grandson comes, this gadget gets a good feeling. These things must be afraid of me, as I am of them. I look around and buttons are on everything. 1, 2, 3 to 10. My dear, I'm only calling to see if you are able. Beg you come tune this TV for me. It's telling me something about cable. Do I have one?